Broadcasting from Swanson Studios, you're watching Mustang News.
Hello and welcome to Mustang News TV. My name is Archana Pisupati, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by Mayor Stewart and President Jeffrey Armstrong, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming St. Patrick's Day event hosted by Cal Poly. Thank you for sitting down with me. I would love to get right into the questions. And President Armstrong, really quickly, do you think you could answer for me, how did last year's St. Patrick's Day influence Cal Poly's approach to the event this year?
Well, thanks for being here. It had a big influence on the event. In the neighborhood event, the party in the street, it's been growing, and it's just not a good thing. It's not safe. We need our neighbors to feel comfortable. Students want to feel comfortable. So this was many factors that led to our response. And one of the main things we're doing is having an alternative campus event. And then we're also been working very closely with the city. We're going to hold students accountable. As the mayor has stated many times, regardless of the date, a party in the street's really not legal.
I was wondering if you could point out any specific incidents or feedback received from either the campus or the community that led to planning this event rather than just creating prevention instead.
Well, we have looked at, and with a really good partnership with the city, with the increased fines, the way we've handled certain times of year, like Halloween this year, we didn't allow visitors. So we have a lot of prevention that's part of this. The alternative event is one component. We will not allow visitors on campus. If you're in a residence hall, you can go in, but no one else can go in unless they live there during that weekend.
And I think for us as the community, we heard loud and clear from our members of our community, students or non-students, whether you live here for a few years or for many, many decades, people would like to be able to sleep in their own homes in a safe manner. They'd like to not be concerned about people on their roofs or in their front yard, et cetera. So really talking about how do we see something different happen from the campus's side, and how do we help be partners. That's one of the reasons we made, as a council, an extra safety enhancement zone that was longer, and unfortunately that means the fines are bigger for a longer period of time.
I know you mentioned that there was a lot of community feedback, and based on last year, it's my understanding that a community task force was actually formed in response to St. Patrick's Day, so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Community task force was really a neighborhood community task force. I know that myself, the chief of police, a couple of other members of the police chief's leadership team, and the city manager, we all came in together to hear the concerns from that task force and learned on different ways how we could actually be part of the solution and help people live in a safe way. We really want to make sure that whatever happens, whether it's the campus music festival or it's people living in their homes, that people can be safe, that we don't have illegal street parties.
I know you also mentioned a roof collapse. I was wondering what specifically about this year led to having a prevention event or something hosted on campus, and why hasn't that been hosted in years prior when there was something as significant as a roof collapse in the past?
That was in 2014, and we had a lot of partnership and a lot of activities going in to enhance safety. And then a little thing called COVID came along and really shut everything down. And so it's just been stepping up since COVID. And so shortly after last year's event, we looked at many things that we could do. There were a lot of internal changes, how students are housed, all the aspects, tried some of it out, Halloween, and then we got a little bit of a late start planning the Cal Poly alternative event, but we're there. We're hoping to announce the main event, the main act, the lead-in act next week. So I don't even know, so I can't spill the beans on that.
I wanted to know more from your opinion, President Armstrong. Last year, after there was a lot of dorm damages happening at Muir Hall and the Red Bricks residence halls, you sent out a very powerful email that had a lot of community reaction, a lot of campus reaction. I was wondering, in your opinion, what were some of the things you were feeling right after St. Patrick's Day last year?
Well, that's a really good question because I had a lot of emotions. One was I was very grateful, and we were all very grateful that no one was hurt. First and foremost, that's the most important aspect. Second, we actually had great collaboration with SLO PD, University Police Department. We had individuals ready to support what was going on. We had way too many students and visitors and others in the neighborhoods. Not a good thing, but no one got hurt. The vandalism and the destruction on campus was extremely disappointing. And many students said, well, it wasn't me. Well, they were your visitors. And yes, there were some cases that were Cal Poly students. And there was quite a bit of accountability. And as the mayor and I have talked, we need to make sure, privacy issues aside, let people know that accountability does occur. And so, again, that led to looking at an alternative event. We have shebang that occurs later in the year when there's not quite the chance of rain. That's been successful, was started by Cal Poly students several years ago. So we thought about that last year, and hence this alternative event. But again, it's really, we want to get to the point where there are not people getting up at 4 a.m. I do want to point out to our students and our community members who will hear your Mustang News TV, our alternative campus event will start early in the morning. So there will be some noise, but we're directing it to campus, to the intramural fields, and away from the community, away from the neighborhoods.
And can I say that the feeling that the president had and others on campus is what the feeling has been for many years from people in the community and in the neighborhoods near Cal Poly on a regular basis. And so when we talk about March 17th and the frustration around the parties around St. Patrick's Day, this is based off of the frustration from many, many, many parties, gatherings, walking back and forth in between events, etc. So just want to make sure this is not the first time.
I understand that it's been an event that's had a lot of community feedback for quite a few years now. I was wondering more so, what are the efforts to prevent the block party? So will there be increased police enforcement on Bond and Hathaway? Could you talk a little bit more about the neighborhood setup?
Sure. We have an increased amount of law enforcement officers from the police department in San Luis Obispo and from outside of the SLO PD, as well as from the on-campus police department. And we have also increased the safety enhancement zone. So what that is from the council, we have given the direction to make sure that fines are doubled. Fines start at $700 to $1,000 depending on the infraction. So really understanding that the goal was, we're not kidding, we're very serious. This needs to not be happening in our community anymore.
Thank you for doing this story and help get the message out. Because students are the best messengers, peer impact, peer-to-peer impact. I also want to give a shout out to our ASI leaders, our ASI students, our Greek student community. We know this is not a Greek event. It may have started that way years ago, but it's really visitors, it's a lot of people in the community, other communities, and our students. And so they've really been helping, and they're advising us on what this alternative Cal Poly event could look like, and urging others to attend. So that's positive. So I'm very optimistic, and we'll learn from it, and we'll get better, both on the prevention side and the alternative event side.
And what have some of those conversations looked like with Greek life leaders and also with ASI? I'm looking more into the inside of Cal Poly and university planning, and I want to know what the student involvement looks like.
Well, first of all, they've been involved from housing with the Housing Council and looking at that. I mean, the students in housing were involved in the aftermath of last year. Lots of discussions. They have ongoing advice. We have our resident advisors and counselors that are involved. But our students have been involved, especially through partnerships that the city has with Cuesta and Cal Poly. The mayor could talk about that. That's an ongoing, happens all the time. We're constantly talking. But the student leaders have really been helpful in pointing out what are the ingredients to a successful alternative Cal Poly event. And as the mayor alluded to, a successful Cal Poly Music Festival alternative event. And as you pointed out, we've got to have a good headliner. I hope it's a good one. I hope it's a good opening as well. And that's key. And there will be alcohol served. It'll be served in a certain area. Students will have to be 21. It'll be beer only. Only students will be able to get tickets. They have to be 18 or above, but a student can invite one guest. So we're trying to set up the environment where people want to go there instead of the neighborhoods and clogging up the neighborhoods and waking up people, or even worse, unsafe behavior or people getting hurt, property being damaged.
I'm really glad you mentioned talking student to student, peer to peer, being the messenger for these activities. Just going off of that, we've gotten a lot of student feedback just on our Instagram, different social channels. A lot of people are wondering specific questions about the event. One clarifying question I just had was, in California, you aren't able to sell alcohol, I believe, until 6 a.m. So what is your walk around to that for the 4 a.m. block party or the event happening on campus?
That is true, but we may be able to provide some alcohol before that time. So I would urge students to show up and see. We have an open forum with the students later this week, next week, I should say. So we'll have a lot more questions answered then. But that is true. You've done your homework. 6 a.m. is the earliest you can do that.
And just going off of that, a lot of students have been looking at the proposed headliners, things that have been sent through university housing, things that have been leaked in different forms like that. There has been a lot of student interest in how Cal Poly and the city, or however the money is being split, is affording this festival. So my first question is, how is this event being funded despite recent CSU budget cuts?
Well, our Senior Vice President, Administration and Finance, Allison Baird James, has been asked that question several times, as have I, and we will not use any general fund. The general fund represents revenue from the state tax dollars, or we also will not use student tuition or fees. So we have other sources of money, and that's what we'll use for this one-time event. And again, hopefully in years to come, we have lots of other events and other things going on during the regular part of the day and not 4 a.m. in the morning.
I would like to ask you a very similar question. With the city facing a projected potential deficit, how will the city prioritize this event, or how is this becoming a priority in terms of other city actions happening right now?
I think as we look at public safety, that is always a core of every single city's purpose. On top of that, when we look at neighborhood livability, that's actually now becoming one of our major city goals for the 25-27 year, because we've seen that if we don't do some different things that create different safety, it's not just your everyday safety we're talking about. This is every aspect of a community member's everyday life. So really looking at how do we provide care and safety in every single day.
I like that you mentioned neighborhood livability. I would like to throw it back to 2004, talk about Mardi Gras a little bit. In the past, that event was completely shut down and there was no alternative provided for it. So could you talk to me a little bit about how the ideation came up for this event and why there is a need to have an additional event that will still serve alcohol, still have loud music, still happen that early in the morning?
I think most of this thought process is Cal Poly, but I will say that as in Mardi Gras, there was an organization that would put on the Mardi Gras event. In the past, when I first came here in 1990, we had Poly Royal. It was a Cal Poly event, an open house event. There is no one individual or organization that has put on St. Patrick's Day. It is just a national day. So when you look at why are we looking at another event, and why we were very excited that Cal Poly was talking about this music festival, is really saying, where else can the students go? Because clearly this time of year, whether it's because of the quarter system and finals, whether it is because it's just the time of year that this one holiday is the excitement to celebrate, I think the reality is something else needs to be done. And up until now, nothing else was being put on. So I think this is really the answer of how can we do something different.
No, I think Mayor Stewart said it very well. Before there was something to shut down. There's really not anything to shut down unless you want to shut down social media. So we wanted to provide, because even last year, even years before, the vast majority of the students are not participating in bad behavior other than being in the middle of the street, which is not a good thing. But they're not participating in bad behavior, not getting out of control drinking. But again, needs to happen somewhere else. And we need alternative events. We need activities. We want students to experience life, but not at the discomfort or potential safety of others.
Going off of that, I was just wondering, what does the future of this event look like right now? Is it something that you want to plan again in the future? Is it a one-time thing? Or what are you hoping to happen come out of this event?
I think out of many pilot events, we have to wait and see. I would love to see everyone at 3:17 a.m. sleeping in their beds and enjoying their sleep, unless they're out at work already. But realistically, if this is something that works well, then we continue to partner and look at what we can do to improve this event in the future. Realistically, 4 a.m. music in the morning is probably not what anyone really wants to hear. But if this is what works, then we're willing to continue to partner.
We'll just take it 1 year at a time and see. Again, I think there's a lot of things we're putting in place on the prevention side, but we didn't want to take the chance of just the prevention and not the alternative Cal Poly event this year. The other thing that's happening in 26 is we moved to semesters. So we won't have this time in March again, where there's the potential, right before finals and everything else. But we'll just have to see. I haven't been too good at predicting the future in the past. It's a pretty difficult task.
I agree. And I would like to talk to you, Mayor Stewart. I have attended my fair share of city council meetings. I've heard a ton of open hall conversations and comments from local neighbors who have been very distressed about this event. How do you think, or how do you expect them to react to this event happening on campus? Maybe the music will still be loud enough to reach those neighborhoods. So what's something that you're doing to actually appease to them as well, in addition to the student body?
Well, I think the first step was really enhancing the safety enhancement zone, or expanding the safety enhancement zones, making sure that when it comes to fees, I've heard many times, well, just raise the fines, make sure that happens. We did. And I think that is one of the aspects. The other part is, how do we help move people out of the neighborhoods? Again, partnering with Cal Poly and hoping that this music festival in the morning will help people get out of the streets, out of the neighborhoods. The 4 a.m. music in the morning, may be challenging for some. Again, that is hopefully better on campus than in the middle of the street, because the illegal street gathering, I think, has been the biggest issues, along with the property damage, along with the noise. So I'm hoping that these things are a good step forward. I don't think we're going to solve it all this year, and I know that's not enjoyable to hear for many people, but I think that we are trying to make strides to improve everybody's everyday life.
I was also wondering, I know that St. Patrick's Day at Cal Poly is almost like a nationally recognized holiday. There are so many people from other schools who attend, and this year you guys are focusing on having a prevention from other people attending. Like you mentioned, President Armstrong, it'll be a ticketed event and students can attend. What is your plan for when other students do end up showing up, if they do at all?
I think as far as if you're hanging out quietly with your friend in their house, enjoy your time. If you are coming here and gathering in the streets, again, we have the safety enhancement zone that has been increased, and there will be bigger fines. And this is not a year we'll have warnings. This is a year that I hope that you get to graduate, go on to the next year, and look back and have a wonderful time. Unfortunately, if that wonderful time includes a $1,000 fine or drunk driving enforcement or going to jail, I don't think that'll be an enjoyable time. So I would say that if you want to go out and party and you're visiting your friends this year, it might not be the weekend to do it.
A couple of things I would add is back to the Cal Poly alternative event. Each student over 18 can get a ticket, and they can bring one visitor. So that part is there. If people are coming from the outside, they're not going to be able to stay in the residence halls. We simply won't allow that. That's going to be strongly enforced. So I agree with the mayor. Well-behaved, coming to the community, that's great. But let's not be in the street illegally.
What are some other things the university will be doing to prevent those kinds of damages that were as extreme as last year to happen the same year?
There were a lot of things we did prevention-wise that occurred almost immediately after last year, even to the point of different housing groups and affinity groups, et cetera. There were a lot of students gravitate toward Muir Hall, and that was changed. It wasn't by accident that it happened in Muir Hall. So that was one. We're also going to be blocking off a lot of campus. So access to campus just at random is going to be restricted. Events, students that are having club outings, contact the student affairs, the dean of students. We can arrange that. We're going to have shuttles to the Cal Poly Alternative Music event. We really would also say to students, if you're in the neighborhood and you're heading to the alternative event, get out of the neighborhood as quickly as you can and make a beeline to the intramural fields. because again, slow PD, UPD, they're going to be out, and we're really work hard without warning. We don't want a illegal street party.
Could you elaborate on some of those shuttle routes that are happening, just for student knowledge?
Those kinds of details on shuttle routes and other things will come out. I don't know them. You probably don't want me to know all of that detail, but those kind of questions can be answered at the open forum we're going to have. There's also a Dean of Students website that has everything we're doing. It's updated daily, and community members can go to that. And our team will get you that website to make sure you have that.
Also, if you want to know more information about the fines, for example, or the safety enhancement zone, et cetera, we have respectslo.com, respectslo.com. So that's our website where you can check out information from the city.
I also would like to know, how will success be measured, and are there plans to continue the event given that success? I know I kind of asked that already, but more so, what are you looking for in terms of a successful event for this year?
Well, I can't speak for Cal Poly, but I will say on a city point, we are looking for, less people in the streets. We're looking for less injuries, less hospitalizations, and I'm looking for, if there is misbehavior, that the discipline is shared with the community so they understand that this was not taken lightly.
Yeah, I would agree with all those points. Safety is first and foremost, no one being hurt. But we want students to be in a position to continue to be successful. Along the lines of visitors, I want to make sure that students from other universities that may visit, we have in the past, and we will continue to follow up with your university if you are cited, if you are fined, even if it's an on-campus issue of disobedience or bad behavior, whatever it may be. We are going to work really hard to hold everyone accountable. But again, good behavior, that's all great.
For my last question, I was just wondering, what impact do you hope this event will have on Cal Poly's reputation and the city's safety? I'm sure it'll be a turnaround from last year, so I'm wondering what you hope that reputation will be like after this event.
Well, as far as the safety, of course, I hope that after this event, we're seeing more safety in the streets. We're seeing more community members proud of being a town that has a university versus being frustrated. I would say, as an alumni, I really hope that my degree is not from a party school. It is from a school where we're continuing to be Cal Poly proud.
Well stated, Cal Poly proud. She had something to do with that a few years ago. That is really important. Our reputation is critical, but the best way our reputation is built is the success of our graduates, our alumni, like Mayor of San Luis Obispo. But it's also making sure that all students feel welcome here. I mean, there are some students, they don't want anything to do with this type of thing, and they may say, I'm not coming to Cal Poly. But so far, we have huge demand. We have amazing faculty and staff that care deeply about our students. Community, slow PD, UPD care about students. They really, they will intervene if they see a student or an individual who's in an illegal position, in a position of bad behavior. But they really do care about the success of the community. They care about the success of students. So that's what we're really about, the success of our students. And again, we're part of the community, so we can't have student success without success of our faculty, staff, and our community, and that means our neighbors.
Mayor Stewart, President Armstrong, thank you for sitting down with us today. I really appreciate you answering all of our questions. For Mustang News, this is Archana Pisupati.